would like now to welcome on the digital floor our two other speakers, Mr. Grant Johnson, Property General Manager, City of Dreams Mediterranean, and Mr. Thanos Michailidis, CEO of Thanos Hotels and Resorts. Good afternoon, gentlemen. I hope you're both well. It is an honor to have you. I think it's interesting to... Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
I think it's interesting to see the different perspectives from the different positions that you represent, from an expert in this field, from an investor, and from an established hotelier. Grant, I will start with a question to you.
Sure.
City of Dreams Mediterranean is one of the biggest investments for Cyprus and the only integrated casino resort in Europe. What about the framework in Cyprus that makes it so favorable for your investment?
Okay, thank you, Stephanie, and hello to everyone on the line. I think as far as what made it favorable for us to invest in Cyprus, first and foremost, it was a very transparent tendering process when we were bidding for the exclusive operator license here in this market. But in addition to that, I think it was really the government's vision for tourism and how our goals for tourism aligned with that. So, and I heard you mention at the beginning of your speech, not just in the pitching phases of investment, but now that we're into the implementation phase, working with the Minister of Tourism here, as well as Invest Cyprus and the other industry leaders in the hospitality sector. I think everyone's very clear on the direction for tourism and where we want to go with hospitality for Cyprus. So that made it all very attractive for us.
Thank you, Brad. That's very nice to hear. And what are the group's plans for the Cyprus market over the next years?
Well, first off, right now we operate 4 satellite or smaller casino properties in 4 cities across Cyprus, but our biggest goal is to successfully open the ICR. So we're targeting right now Q2 of next year to have the doors open for the ICR, and as you explained, it's quite a large project, so we got to make sure that we get that right and get it open correctly. And then I think looking into the 5 years, you know, as you saw from Christopher's presentation, we're a bit behind now overall in Cyprus for our tourism goals. So we've got to revitalize the tourism sector. So as we open the ICR, I think that will help. But working with Thanos on the panel and all of the hoteliers in this market and the government, we got to make sure that, you know, all the plans are in place to revitalize and recover from this horrible global pandemic.
Of course, and we look forward to it. Now, Thanos, given the current global situation that we've been through, how are hotels adapting their business operations to receive travelers back? And how do you see the transition back to recovery?
First of all, thank you for the invitation. The road to recovery will not be an easy one. For Q1 and Q2 of 2021, I consider it as lost. If everything goes to plan with the vaccination, we consider Q3 and Q4 to be better than the corresponding quarters of 2020. And if that goes well and the economy is picking up, I see that 2022 will be quite close to 2019, which means 2023 we should be back on stream and continue to grow. And I'm sure you're aware that tourism globally has been a steadily growing market throughout the decades. And in fact, if you follow the global growth trend from the 50s till now, pre-COVID of course, you will see an exponential growth curve. So it's a very steadily growing market throughout the years. Now, as far as Cyprus is concerned, of course, we're going to face some changes, and the pandemic has brought a lot of changes that were happening much faster and closer to us. Cyprus has an overdependence in large tour operators, and they, of course, have been facing a lot of problems with the pandemic. They've reduced their program to Cyprus. They've reduced their flight capacity. And at the same time, we're going to be seeing more of the individual traveler coming up. I mean, we expected this, but pandemic brought this forward. And the change in the supply chain and the changes in the demand will leave a void in Cyprus in the immediate short term, because most of the Cyprus hoteliers are not accustomed to dealing with direct business, and they have this overdependence. So that will be a challenge for the industry to adapt as quickly as possible to the new model, because that is the model that will happen in the future, of course. And to be able to do that, we need to develop our marketing skills, to be able to communicate with the new independent traveler. And that means also controlling the narrative that goes to that person. Because I believe that one of the trends now is that people will be wanting to make more informed choices about the hotels. Therefore, they'll be searching for the communication pieces that gives them the confidence level to book. And that means controlling the narrative and having the communication skills to contact the direct client. With the digital marketing growing, of course, at a very rapid pace, there are a lot of sophisticated tools that allow us to contact and communicate potential customers more effectively. And we need to be investing a lot into that.
Thank you. I think you have mostly answered my next question, but I don't know if you would like also to add something else. And of course, I would invite all of you to add anything else you need. I would like to ask you, as an established hotelier, what would you see as future trends in the hotel industry? I know if you've mentioned marketing, technology, digitalization. So would you diversify your products? Would you differentiate something in your operation so far?
Well, first of all, it's extremely difficult to differentiate the physical aspect of the hotel experience, because if a property is built, that leaves you very little room for changes. So what needs to change and needs to adapt in a very rapid pace is the soft elements of the hotel experience. And to Christopher's point, of course, what goes beyond the hotel that gives you a holistic holiday experience, which is extremely critical. So as hoteliers, we need to be investing constantly in making our soft experience as current as possible to meet the current demand trends.
Thank you. Thank you. Christophe, now over to you. We have seen in your presentation that sustainability is playing a significant role for travelers when choosing a destination. Would you say that this is a priority for investors too?
Yeah, so we've been talking about sustainability for so many years, and we've seen certification schemes also, and even in Europe there are some specific schemes. So of course, first of all, sustainability. There are some source markets that are more sensitive to sustainability than others. No? So if we talk about the Germany, Austria, or the Nordic market, they are extremely sensitive to that. But in general, more and more people, even in countries where traditionally they were not so sensitive, they are more and more sensitive. So I think that's the first point to mention. Now, what does it imply really? So can if I implement sustainable approaches, which is not only about environmental issues or water consumption and things like this, which everybody more or less is trying to do. It goes much on a broader scale, no? And that includes also linking with the experiences and the local connections, and food that is coming from the local properties and so on. So I think that today, somehow sustainability is like expected and needs to be embedded, and I need to give some confidence, and I need to communicate more or less depending on the segments, no? And some of them, as we mentioned, it's a must if you really want to be successful. In others, it's a plus, but more sensitiveness. Now, how far should we go into that? The question is really about understanding if this investment will give you more demand. No? So today, because so many companies are doing that, it's more you must have it, and it will be something that will help you, but not necessarily will generate much more demand. But it will maybe reduce demand if you don't do it. No? And then again, I think the question here is to go to very different types of investments, no? in different fields, and a very holistic point of view.
Very clear. Thank you very much. I don't know if Grant or Thanos would like to add something on that. Grant, Melco is leading the effort towards sustainability. Yeah. So I would like to hear what are the best practices, eco-friendly practices that you would adapt with City of Dreams.
Okay, I can answer that. So, first of all, I agree completely with Christoph's comments. So I think it is very important, and I think that customers are being more selective for environmental sustainable destinations when they choose where to spend their tourism dollars. For Melco, this is a very high priority for us. We have the opportunity to, as we build, to take the learnings from what we've done in other jurisdictions when we've built resorts. So as we build the new ICR, that's a very high priority for us. So we're working with BRIAM for a accreditation of the resort with all sorts of extensions under that accreditation. Some of the things Christophe mentioned, like renewable energy, there'll be a solar panel scheme as part of the resort. We're looking at sustainable sourcing. Our waste management system, we're now developing through that. All sorts of different factors, as well as the ecological site and the impacts on that, because where we're building is very close to an ecological reserve. So we want to make sure that we reserve all of that, and we're very conscious as we build to that.
Thank you, Grant. And one last question to you. Unfortunately, we don't have enough time. Projects like the casino resort will help significantly tackling the seasonality. So how the seasonality concerns compare with other Mediterranean destinations?
So I think, I think that's a big issue. And I think in speaking with the Cyprus government, as we planned out, just not the ICR, but the future of tourism for Cyprus, I think, year-round tourist offerings is key. So it goes back to, as Dano said, it's the software and making sure that we have an offering not just on the hardware for fixed facilities that have been already developed, but on the soft side, but also mixed use. Christophe mentioned that as well. So how can we diversify our existing offerings? And I think for the ICR in particular, with the MICE facilities and the Expo Center that we're bringing in some of the sports facilities, we can attract different types of tourism year-round, I hope.
Thank you. Gentlemen, I would like to thank you all. It was an honor having you. Thank you for your contribution and insights, and keep safe. I hope that next time we'll be able to have you here physically and see you in person. Thank you.